The next project that you guys are going to be working on is called a weaving, and you're going to be making what's called a tapestry weaving. And so I have some examples here of tapestry weavings that have been done by former students. Here is one example that's not holding up so well over time. Another example. Okay. Fringe is getting a little crazy. And the last example is probably holding up the best out of all of them. And here is a close-up of that. Okay, so let's talk about weaving. Did you know that one of the processes used to make cloth and clothing is thousands of years old? When you're weaving cloth, you use two sets of thread called the warp and the weft. The warp threads run vertically, that's up and down, and the weft threads run horizontally, side to side. To weave, you move the weft threads over and under the warp threads, which creates fabric, like that used to make clothing. Weaving is also used to create baskets, mats, and other items from materials such as willow branches, twigs, and grasses. Humans used weavings to create baskets long before they used the process to make cloth. Early baskets were probably made by weaving grasses and plant materials around gourds to give them a useful shape. So if you look at some of these examples here, you guys can, play around with the design ideas here, but you can do a straight tabby weave and you can filter things in and make curves if you'd like. You can do a straight tabby weave and stripes if you'd like. You can also add, and you're going to learn how to do this in a little bit, but you're going to learn how to make what's called raya, which is the fringe or the tassels that hang off the bottom here. And you can layer those tassels if you like, or you can just do one row of tassels just like the ones that you saw in my examples. This example here is very, very close to this guy, if you look. Okay, and that is just a technique of weaving so far in and weaving back and weaving up to each other. So you weave from one side and you weave a shape and then you weave the other side and weave the shape. Okay, next one, you can do raya in the middle of your design and make it kind of short. Again, you can just use stripes, just like this example. And here's a few more examples that I thought were pretty cool. And so here is the vocabulary. Number one, or the first one, is loom. This is a guide structure holding your design taut as you work. On our project, we're using cardboard loom. Weft is the woven part of the design. It's the colored strings seen running right to left. The way that I remember the weft is weft runs left, and the warp is the other one. So if the weft is running to the left, your warp has to be going the other way. Warp is the inner structure of strings holding the weaving together. On a traditional loom, warp strings run top to bottom and are rarely seen. A yarn darner is a plastic needle used to guide your yarn as you weave. Twill weave is under 1 over 2, under 1 over 2, and so on. You're going to learn how to do that in another video. Tabby weave is the basic under over weaving that you're all going to learn. Sumac weave is another special weaving technique that I've included in my videos. This is on every warp, go over and around, then to the next string, over and around. Your crochet chain is another special one. Loop around one warp and pull tails through, loop and pull on the next warp string, and so on. This is going to be using a lot of string. And raya or tassels, you will have to begin your project by putting on your raya first. So there's going to be a video that shows you 12-inch long strings folded in half and lark's head knot around 2 warp strings. All right, so the supplies for this, you're going to need a pair of scissors. You're going to need your cardboard loom, your cotton twine, which is in your pack on a piece of cardboard about this big, your yarn darner, which is a plastic needle, yarn, of course. You're going to need to go out in your yard and find yourself a stick, something about as big around as your pinky, maybe less. Make sure that it's not super flimsy, and make sure that it is about 1 inch longer than the width of your loom itself. So if this is your loom, I want to make sure it's about 1 inch longer than my loom because I'm going to use it at the top. Okay. And you're going to need a ruler. Number 1, using the cardboard loom and cotton cord, string your loom. There's a video to show you how. You are making the warp strings when you are stringing your loom. Number 2, begin with a row of raya or tassels at one end. You're welcome to stack your raya if you'd like. And this video is going to show you how to make that. Number 3, cut off about 3 foot of your chosen yarn color. That's about a wingspan's length. And begin your design. This will be the row right next to your raya. Thread your yarn darner, weave your first few weft rows of tabby weaving along with the video. This video is going to show you what to do. You must change colors on your design at least 4 times. So pay attention to that little tidbit as you go through. And do not pull taut at the end of each row. Weave a finger loop at the end to avoid collaring. Number 4, weave that way for the entire project if you'd like. As you change colors, make sure you begin at the end of each color in the center of the design. You can weave the tails in at the end. If you want to change weaving styles, use this video. That's where the special weaving techniques come in to learn a few more techniques. Weave the entire length of the loom until you have about 2 inches left of warp strings at the end. Make sure you're packing your weft strings down as you with a ruler as you go. Warp strings should not be showing. Insert the stick you gathered from your yard by weaving it in. So it's just under, over, under, over, under, over. To remove your design from the loom, follow along with this video. We're going to cut the warp strings just above the stick and tie them to the stick. You're going to cut any tails that happen to be left over. Number 5, flip over your weaving and weave the tails in. That's also going to be part of this video. The tails that are sticking out of the back of your design, you want to hide them. But if you can't because your weaving is too tight, that's totally okay. All you need to do is snip them so that they're no longer than about 2 inches. It's not really a big deal if you don't get to weave them in. Just make sure they aren't longer than 2 inches, so trim if you need to. Last step, fill out a critique sheet when you're done. Grading. I'm giving you 20 points for your design, 20 points for your color choices, 20 points for your technique, 10 points for your ties at the end, 10 points for craftsmanship, 10 points for creativity, and 10 points for critique. For submitting this on a small piece of paper, write your name. Place it next to your weaving project on the floor and photograph it. I need to see the entire project front, back, and close up on the attachment to the stick. Upload those 3 photos to your critique sheet to Google Classroom when you're all done.